been 1 year since Reggie Burgess became the chief of police for the City of North Charleston. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with both Chief Burgess and North Charleston Mayor Keith Summey one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview Tuesday on the free Quintin's Close-Ups iHeartRadio podcast. Well, Mayor Keith Summey and Chief Reggie Burgess, it's so good to see you again.
It's good to see you, sir.
Nice to see you. Appreciate it greatly. I understand, obviously, you've been on the job as Chief of Police for 1 year. If you were to stand in front of the North Charleston Police Department right now, what would be the state address for the North Charleston Police Department?
I would say, first of all, we've had a good year working in our communities. We worked hard at looking at each community and neighborhood, and really just got, put our efforts into really working for the people and as it is in that neighborhood. Then we also looked at all our business communities and our business partners and got them involved. And then most of all, what we actually did was got the community to buy into our crime prevention strategies. We created neighborhood level crime fighting initiatives, getting the neighborhood most involved with the crime fighting initiatives. Traditionally, police officers always do it, but we got our communities involved and got them to start calling and start to stand up and say, hey, well, enough is enough. So I think in front of us, in our staff, I would basically say, hey, this is what we accomplished this year, and we have a whole lot to do in 2019.
And obviously, Mayor, you brought him in, with a lot of fanfare. And I understand that when we spoke on May 30, 2018 for Quintin's Close-Ups, you basically said, hey, we had to train him to get to where he is now.
Absolutely. I mean, the worst thing you can ever do is put someone in a position before they're ready. And Reggie got ready. And when he did, we were able to fulfill what we were working to do. And that was to give him an opportunity to run the department. There's different types of skill sets that people possess. One, you can teach a police officer all the rules, regulations, and this is how we do it by the book. But we were looking for someone that says, this is how we do it, we're going to do it by the book, but we're going to do it in a situation where we're looking at what's the repercussions of what we do, how do we develop relationships within the communities that we're in. And Reggie has a keen understanding that communities are like children. They're all kin, but they're different. And so different communities need different approaches. And so Reggie has been excellent at doing that. His heart is with helping us resolve some of the issues we have in our communities. At the same time, taking what he knows to help us rebuild those communities where they're communities that are functioning well, where neighbors are getting along with neighbors, where we're eliminating the drug issues that we have in some of our communities, and we're eliminating the crime that we have in some of our communities. It will take a long road to get completely there, but it's better to take steps forward instead of steps backward.
How many steps have been taken so far?
I would say, even if you look at just the crime reduction, we've had about a 35% decrease this past year, especially in homicides. And that's something that we always look at on an annual basis because we hate to see people lose their lives completely unnecessarily. I mean, talk things out, get things done. And we've seen more community engagement, which is another big step forward. One of the big issues that we have is retention of law enforcement officers. But that's not just a North Charleston problem. That's a problem across the state and across the country. Getting young people that really want a desire to go into law enforcement. When you find them, I mean, you can lock into them and they've got great attitudes. We're seeing a lot of our younger officers coming in that are looking at variables on how we can get it done, and that's important. So it's hard to reach out. We're constantly a few short, and that can either be by attrition or by us creating attrition if they're not doing the job the way they should be doing. But at the end of the day, we're building a stronger and a better department that is got goals of reducing crime, but also goals of enhancing neighborhoods.
As a matter of fact, Chief Burgess, you told us the WCIB recently, quote, "The entire city of North Charleston remains my #1 priority, and I will continue to do everything I can to keep it safe." What's that second priority?
The second priority is getting out there and getting the job done. Having the goal for me, as I stated, is placing the city's needs before any of my needs. Looking at what the city really needs from us as an agency. But then the most important part of it is getting out and getting it done. And having a mayor like this, I mean, what can you ask for? I mean, anytime I go to him, or anytime I just really talk about things, he's always there. He's always willing to help me through things, mentor me, treat me like I'm his son. My father passed in 2002, and he was there at my father's funeral. He was there when my brother passed in 1999, so he knows me, he knows my family. So when I have issues, which we sometimes do, I could always lean on the mayor and get some uplift to be able to navigate through what I'm going through. So in my working as a police chief, priority is #1 in the city of North Charleston, but how do we get there to prioritize it where we make sure it's a safe community? And that's the thing that I'm looking at that we need to do and constantly and consistently go about being about the community's business.
And I know that one of the interviews you told recently, you said, "I am a crime fighter." What is your definition of that?
Well, a crime fighter, when you look at, some of the, cartoons and things like you see Batman,
right.
and you love that because when you're growing up, you look at it, what he's doing. And if you really notice the crime fighters on television and even some of the ones that you see that have historical value, the community is the #1 priority. Because who are you fighting crime for? You're fighting crime for the people that you serve. So that's why, like the mayor stated to you earlier, we look at each community different. What Union Heights, what they deal with Union Heights is totally different than what they deal with Coosa Creek.
Right.
So you look at that and you try to make sure you put in strategies and methods in place so you can go into those neighborhoods and make those neighborhoods safe by what is going on in those neighborhoods. So being a crime fighter means that I'm looking at anything that can harm the community and doing my best to either prevent it or if it does occur, to solve it and try to make sure it doesn't happen again. So that's my definition of being a crime fighter.
The strong point with Reggie is that in anything you do in life, you have to sell it. And Reggie is not only good at selling the ideas to the community, he also has to sell the approach to the police officers. And that's when you become a winner. When you get the message across to the citizenry and the message across to the police officers that they are basically a team. And if we're going to be successful at fighting crime, we have to have the neighborhoods engaged in that crime fight. And we have to have the officers that have established the communication with the people within those neighborhoods. And, Reggie is hands-on with his people and with the communities. And that is what's going to make it successful. Communication is the lifeline to anything we do.
You keep talking about the community. What is the trust right now in the community when it comes to the city of North Charleston, the North Charleston Police Department, and the community?
Well, I think that the trust that the community has toward the administration and the law enforcement division is strong. I think they understand we're not miracle workers. We can't heal every issue that we have, but we can slow down the process of that cancer that's been going on in our community, of crime, strong arm robberies, drugs, things of that nature. Once we can get it leveled, start slowing down, then we can look how do we alleviate it. It's a long road, but it's one that we understand and are willing to take And I think we have the right leadership in place now to accomplish that.
Chief?
Yeah, the mayor's 100% correct. When we go to a civic club meeting, whichever neighborhood, let's say we take Park Circle, we go to Park Circle, like the City Northeast. What our neighborhood resource officers do, as well as I myself and our command staff, we take all the crimes that have occurred in that neighborhood within a 2-week, probably a month period. And it's on a big board. You have a street sign that says Northeast Park Circle, and it tells you the reported crimes. One of the reasons why we do that is because we want the community to know what's really going on in its community. And once they take a look at the crime, they know the date that it occurred, they know what happened, and sometimes we may have had made an arrest, and they could, see the names of the person who was arrested.
Sure.
It's a public, information. You can get it anytime you want to. But what we do in the second part of that meeting is that we actually go over some of our crime strategies that we had actually implemented before. So the neighborhoods see exactly, we had driver's license checkpoints, we had radar operations, warrant operations, or we just have basically roll calls, community walks.
Right.
Then the third piece, which is one of the most important pieces in that meeting, is we ask our community, what does that community, what would they like us to do in that community? What are some of the strategies they think we're working in their community? People ask me all the time, well, why do we do that? Because if you live in that community, Northeast Park Circle, you know what's best for your community. You have the eyes and ears there. So if you're giving us, information, we'll create the initiative to get in that community, do exactly what you asked us to do. And maybe if we do those things, we can help reduce crime by having the community involved in the crime fighting, skills. So that's some of the biggest things, and it's a buy-in for the community. Now when they know that we are engaging them in the crime fighting the skills, it's a win-win for us.
And we have to keep them informed of what is really going on in the communities, because if someone's home is broken into, they automatically think that there is a horrible rate of incidents happening within their community. We had someone come forward the other day and speak and talk about how crime was increasing in their neighborhood. We went back and looked at all the records for 6 months. There was 3 crimes in the neighborhood. 2 were break-ins of unlocked cars, which if you've got your car locked, the likelihood of somebody going in is much less. In the 6-month period, we had 1 home break-in. And that was basically the amount of serious crime that we had in that neighborhood. But to that person that was broken into, it is the worst could ever happen. And so we have to make them understand you're going to have an occasional break-in. If you look across this country, that's something that occurs. And what we're trying to do is give as much police presence as we can to each neighborhood, but we're also relying on them to notify us when they see something suspicious. Once again, if you see something, say something. That's what we try to do.
And as the mayor stated, when that information is given to the communities and they're sharing information with us, then they know traditionally if somebody breaks into your home, there's 3 ways that they can do that. They're either going to walk into your yard and break into your house. Either they're going to ride on a bicycle or scooter, or they're going to ride in a car. So when the community knows, when we're out there in those communities and we're doing driver's license checkpoints and we're making, legitimate stops, then the community can understand and articulate that we're in there stopping folks because the folks who are coming in there who are victimizing them are using those same modes of traveling to victimize them by burglaries and BDs. So they get a better understanding when they know we're in the community. What are the reasons why? I had a young lady from Union Heights. Somebody asked her about, said, well, I've seen a kind of uptick of law enforcement in your community. And she goes to the civic club meeting. She said, yeah, we had a couple of burglaries on Forest Avenue, one on Echo. That's why they're in there, because the folks are walking or riding, coming to our houses and breaking in those houses. So the police, we have to get out there. The police, we have to engage them and stop the folks who are mobile. And that's a selling point. The community understands it. They understand why we're in the community.
And you also told Channel 2 this too, going back to New Year's, obviously this year, when there were, I believe there were 4 shootings on New Year's Day. You said this quote, I'm angry. I'm frustrated anytime anybody that is victimized in the city of North Charleston. I'm always thinking proactively. I try to put myself in a situation to see what we can do to keep the street from having violence. When you go back to New Year's Day to right now, what still plays in your mind?
What plays in my mind is, like you said, anytime somebody's victimized. I would love to. There was a movie called Minority Report.
Right.
And those guys were able to see crime occurring without it actually happening. So they could stop it before that. I know that this is not the type of world we live in, but that's the type of mind I have. I have a predictive mind. And I think, what can we do on the front end to make sure that we, provide a safe environment for our communities, their lives and their properties. So I'm always looking at being in the right place at the right time before things occur. And maybe because I think like that, I'm a little kind of far ahead a little bit, but I really believe that if you place cars in neighborhoods, strategically placed them, you have officers to interact with the communities. You have officers that be out there at night. You see these blue marker lights. You know police is out there. When you actually seen us doing our peace walking in neighborhoods, not just any time. We do it when the crime most often would occur. When you see things like that and issues like that, you understand. And when, like the mayor stated earlier, when we actually giving information, answering information through YouTube and through the social network and what's going on in the communities, when you continue to do those things, you somewhat become predictable, because now you could get ahead of the folks who are unsavory. And unsavory folks are criminals, and they don't care about structure. They care about what they want to do. So if we can get ahead of that, we can stop things from occurring.
And you also told Channel 2 this quote, "I believe that our crime fighting initiatives in 2018 proved to our agency that our city can be safer, and we also can have a whole lot more to do. But that's what we do." Can you talk to me more about those initiatives?
Well, as I said, one of the biggest things that we did was the social networking. Piece of it. When folks, send something through and they're like, "Hey, what's going on? I just heard some shots fired," or somebody came through my yard. We need to be able to address those issues. It's almost like going to a call. If they call us, we come and we, investigate it if need be. So the social networking system is the same way. We need to address the issues that the community, they're talking about. Be able to explain to them what's going on. Because if we explain to them what's going on, they'll understand a whole lot better that it's not your community. It may have been something in another community that may be spilled over into your community. And then we're talking about recap walk, which is our peace walks. We actually, mayor sent a group of people, civilians, to Boston and Massachusetts, and they learned from Boston, how to work into an environment to keep the peace by being peace walkers. And that's an issue that's going to, you'll be able to see a whole lot more. But those peace walkers are out there in the community when crime most likely will occur. So if they're out there walking, then the bad folks are not going to be in those communities. People get to sleep. People get to enjoy their social life. Then you shift to some other gears when you're talking about what officers are doing in the streets. Officers are getting out with the blue marker lights, but most of all, they're being more proactive. They're checking out. They're going to homes and making sure they talk to folks who may have been victimized or who just really need somebody to check their properties. And they're actually getting out and walking the beats. They're actually cruising the neighborhoods, getting involved with children through our CAT program. There's a whole lot of things that we're doing, but it's got to be constant. It has to be consistent. And we're really sharing, our love of being a part of the community. We're being invited to go to parties. Kids are asking officers to come to their parties. And officers are going to their parties, and the kids are hanging with them, and they're eating cakes and doing different things. We've been asked to come to churches. There are men's and women's days programs. I mean, it's unheard of. But what that tells me is that the community wants us to be a part of it.
How long did it take for this community to really feel comfortable with the North Charleston Police Department in those communities, at the parties, at the churches, in your mind?
Well, this guy right here has been mayor since 1994.
Yeah. I was like 7 years old.
What he did, he actually showed you that he wanted to be your friend first. And then you said, "Hey, I want to be his friend." So he's a great role model on how you should respond and react to individuals. You know, he wants to be your friend. He wants to serve. He wants to be the servant. He's the number one servant in the city. He's the number one servant in the city. So what we do in law enforcement, we take a look at our leader and see when he goes to any place he attends, people love him. People want him there. They talk to him. Why? Because he's established that years ago. So what we do, we look at what our leader does, and he gets out and mingles, talks to people, you know, socialize with people, go to, you know, wakes, go to funerals, go to services, go to picnics, go to cookouts. He's everywhere. He's in the community. And, you know, some academians in law enforcement would say, well, you know, law enforcement, we need to kind of like just be law enforcement in the traditional sense. And that's all well and fine too. But, you know, your incident reports derive from where? Your communities. Your incident reports derive from your community saying somebody burglarized their home, you know, broke into their car, somebody stole something from them. The majority of them come from the community. So what we do at the North Charleston Police Department, we get into the community. You know, we become a part of the community in every sense to serve it in the best way we can.
I think one of the neat things that they've started, and I notice it as I'm going through the communities at night, wildlife patrols have always been there, riding through the neighborhoods. You didn't notice them because there was no way to identify them in the dark. Now, as they're just riding through the communities, they've got the lights on the rearview mirrors on each side. And to the person that may be thinking about doing something bad, it says, oh no, there's the police. To the people that are feeling a little insecure, they say, oh boy, there's the police. And it's that presence that they know is there. It means a lot. And I think that is a deterrent to crime in communities just by turning on the lights to let people know you're there. It's like turning on a light in your yard. Leave a light on so, you know, you can see what's out there. Well, this light, I think, is a symbol to that community of peace and knowing that someone's out there is caring to make sure that your life is safe, that your home is safe, your car is safe. And I think that's the volume that it speaks. And I can tell you, we're doing more than we've ever done in neighborhoods through our law enforcement division. Programs for the kids, the bicycle programs we have, all those things, trying to develop those relationships, trying to have a police officer in every school in North Charleston. Not about the crime in the school, it's about establishing relationships. And hopefully some of those kids will one day be in that uniform, serving the people of the city of North Charleston as well. You've got to develop that desire with them at an early age. And Reggie, I think, has done that, Chief Burgess, has done that, has done that extremely well. He is very much a people person, and that's what we need in this community. And we've seen it flow down into younger officers that are now engaging themselves more, I think, in activities of the community. Those relationships build trust. And so that's what Reg is teaching us to do.
The engagement, the relationships. Let me ask you the obvious. What are the numbers?
Our numbers, according to our statistics, are down. Our homicides are down 35% or so. And some of our other crime rates are down. One of the things that we have learned and try to teach people, some crimes are crimes of opportunity. And that's when you leave your car unlocked. That's when you haven't secured things on your property. If it's secured, the number of vehicles that are broken into unlocked far exceed the number of vehicles that are broken into locked. And it's easy. And protect that which you have, and it helps you and it helps us. Some people are opportunity driven, and so we just don't want to give them the opportunity.
Of course. Let me get back to you. Why do people trust you in your mind?
Hopefully because I'm a God-fearing man. And I, what you see is what you get. That's me. I just, high school principal told me years ago when I was like 8th grade, if it's to be, it's up to me. He would always say that, and he told me I had so much to be able, so much to offer. And I had to grow up a little bit to kind of get there, but I always had it in my mind. So I think the trust factor is what I put in. Like the man says, you got to put in that. You got to get out there on the streets. Crime is not occurring here in City Hall. Any day you come here, you will very seldom see the mayor in here all day long. He's always out in the community, always. And that's what I want to be about too. I want to be out there in the communities. I want to be out in the meetings. I want to be out, in the stores. I want to be everywhere in the community because that's what we serve out there. So the trust factor is what you put in. I mean, if you put something into it and it's positive and you're really trying to do right by people, folks, they'll figure it out. I don't have to go around talking about it because that's not me. I just want to do the work for the people. So.
Let me get back to you, Mayor Summey. Obviously, you just relaunched your campaign for mayor. You said this in a press release, I believe, recently. You said this quote, "During my time as mayor, I am proud to have seen our diverse city transform into a progressive, welcoming hub filled with community assets." What are those assets as we sit here right now?
Well, I think if you were to look at where we were, 24 years ago when I started, the population has doubled. Sure. The housing has improved considerably. We still have some affordable housing places. Some have grown out of line, out of proportion. I think they'll level off and trend down. If you look at the economic opportunities for retail, restaurants, the places you have to eat down in North Charleston are totally unbelievable. The shopping experiences that you can have, and all those create jobs. But then if you look, we're the only city right now in the country that manufactures both airplanes and automobiles. And that's something to say for a little 48-year-old city, that we're doing something that nobody has ever done in the history of this country. But if you look at the amenities that we've added, the community centers that we've added for our people, we just had 2 new senior facilities open up because we felt that we weren't doing enough to have activity for our seniors. If you look at the new public works facility, we had a facility that quite honestly was not suitable for people to work in for our employees, and now we have what I would say is one of the finest public works facilities in the Southeast. If you look at the new rail station that's just opening, we tried to get that package going 20 years ago. We turned it over to another group to handle. They couldn't get it done. We came back in and took it over, and it's open. We've got a new 3-gym complex that's under contract right now, and construction is taking place so that our kids can have a place. A lot of our kids have to travel to get engaged and stuff. We want people to come here, and our kids don't have to travel because that travel adds expense to the moms and dads that sometimes make it hard for their kids to participate. I think that we have worked to establish a quality of life that 20 years ago people would never dream North Charleston would have. Sure, we've still got our issues, but every city has their issues. And we work to alleviate those problems that we have. Our goal is, I can't make everybody's life be equal. Our goal is to make everybody's life as good as we can do to make it be a good quality life. Reggie and I have sort of the same goal in life. When we leave this earth, we want somebody to say they left it better than they found it.
I gotta back up. You said a couple of key things. Affordable housing, quality of life. How do you define affordable housing and quality of life in 2019?
Well, affordable housing to me is not Section 8 housing. It's not housing that is supplemented in cost. Affordable housing is where an average working class person can go out and find a home to buy, and it's their home. It's something they can build where their children are going to be brought up and what have you. And we've got some of those areas. I think that we're going to see that enhanced as the housing prices start stabilizing and get to a more affordable range, and that the salaries of our employees increase. This coming year, we will go to a goal that we set 3 years ago. The lowest paid employee in the city of North Charleston will be $15 an hour. The reason we did that is, how can we expect others to do it if we don't set the example? And so we're trying to make our employees get to the level, and that would be the entry level for the lowest paid employee. Plus, we offer great hospitalization. And so what we're doing is we're saying, this is how we're operating the city. We hope the businesses that are in the city that are looking at it the same way. We have to provide a living. Education. When I saw legislation last year that said the lowest paid school teacher in the state has to make at least $31,500 a year. That's what we're paying the lowest paid employee in the city of North Charleston. And we're talking about the people that are educating our children. We've got to come to grips with the fact that we've got to get engaged. Education doesn't fall under the city. He's engaged with his officers in the schools. All of my employees are engaged with the schools because they are the future of this community. We have to get our kids. You can bring in 1,000 new jobs, and if we haven't got any of our kids trained for them, we failed. We don't need to see the growth in population occur until we have so many jobs coming in that people who live here can't take them. We've got to better prepare our young people for the growth that's coming to the community in jobs. And while we're not in charge of the schools, we are engaging with the schools. We want to be engaged with the schools so that we can help them conquer that need that we have to make every young person growing up in our community today eligible to get a wonderful opportunity to raise a family with a good salary and a good home to live in.
You talk about children. I got to take you to your son. Obviously, he has been reelected as chairman for Charleston County Council. When you think of that, where does your mind go to?
Well, Elliot is my eldest child, and I love him to death. He and I have a lot of the same goals and concepts. His approach to him is different than mine. He is more his mama's boy. My daughter's more daddy's girl, and in the approach that we do. But he gets things accomplished, and he does it because he cares. This gentleman here was his school resource officer when he was in high school, and gave him a great respect for law enforcement and the people that you deal with. The current principal at North Charleston High School, who is also on county council with him, was his history teacher at Morningside Middle School.
You love Mr. Darby.
And Mr. Darby, Elliot went to college and majored in history. So I approached his principal, who was then his teacher when he was in middle school. I said, what in the world is a history degree going to do for him? He said, it's prepared him for everything, son. I said, okay, I'll buy that. And it has. But the successes that Elliot has had, he went to public schools in North Charleston.
Right.
He went to public schools in North Charleston. Our goals are to make sure that every kid that comes out of public school, while education doesn't fall under us, the burden of education and the responsibility of education falls on all of us. So our goal is to work with the schools, supplement what they need to make sure that every child who gets out of that school is qualified to take on responsibility and jobs in this community to make the community better, but make their lives better as well.
You talk about the community. I have to ask you about this critical issue that's going on right now. It's been a fight from here to Columbia, and that is 526. How do you define 526 in its future right now?
Well, I think the naysayers are the ones that have driven the price up, because the road could have been completed by now if they hadn't fought it so doggone much. They're complaining now that it's going to cost too much. Well, the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost. 526 to me, I go back to not just North Charleston. I mean, it's not going to be expanded in North Charleston. But when I was on county council and the chairman of county council, we were looking at how do we get people moving in this community in a safe and timely manner. When it comes to evacuations for hurricanes, how do we get people out of our community in a timely and safe manner? You know, it's frustrating to people today when you have to go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning and you got to leave at 6:30 to get there, and it's only a 10-mile ride. And it's the same thing in the afternoons. If in Dorchester Road, for example, if you're going out of town or going toward Dorchester in the afternoons, you've got bad traffic. Coming in, it's not too bad. In the morning, it's reversed. We have got to find alternative forms of transportation, but in the meantime, we got to make sure that we've got adequate roadways, those roadways are safe, and that we can keep people moving. And that is a battle getting everybody to understand. We need roads in North Charleston, and we're working to make sure that we still get our needs met here. The 526 expansion has been a 20-year program. And if we don't get it done now, the costs can continue to go up. But the people that don't want it have created the cost rises that are associated with it. And so when they want to point their finger, my daddy always told me, son, when you point your finger at me, there's 3 coming back at you. And that's what they need to say. What is not good for me? What is good for the entire community? 526 in that area is not going to be in North Charleston, but what's good for the entire community, for the safety of that community, so that we can get people moving back and forth and enhance their quality of life.
And if we get back to North Charleston, what is your message to the community in 2019 as we go forth?
Well, look at what we've got. Look at the growth that we've had. Look at the jobs that we've got. Look at the neighborhoods growth that we've had. I mean, what we're doing in some of our neighborhoods is enhancing the quality of life of those people in those neighborhoods. We got to keep the highest neighborhood a good neighborhood to live in, make the lowest neighborhood a good neighborhood to live in. And that's sort of where we are in North Charleston, what we're heading to do. And it takes everybody working together to accomplish that. I think we have the leadership in place in the departments that we have in the city to help us get to that goal. I think we've got citizens within our community that can help us get to that goal. We've just got to come together, work together, be patient, but be strong-willed and strong-minded that this is where we're headed, and we're not going to stop till we get there. Chief?
Same thing. Community just continue to work with us, continue to support us, and continue to be involved in the community. The community police, we can do a whole lot of things. We had a pretty good year this year. We want to do a whole lot better in 2019 versus 2018. But we need to have the community with us, lock in step, to care and stand for what's right. If we continue to stand together, then we'll get rid of that evil thought and evil deeds of people that perpetrate on the communities. And that's what we have to do. We have to just come together, stay together, and work together.
Well, Mayor Keith Summey and Chief Reggie Burgess, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you.
pleasure.
You too. Thank you.